When people first get serious about their personal finances, usually the first thing they try to do is create themselves a strict budget. They go around and look for every penny pinching way to save a buck or two. They stop getting their morning coffee on the way to work, stop going out to eat with their friends, and vacations are definitely out of the question. And I don't know about you, but that sounds terrible. Now, don't get me wrong, depending on how serious your financial struggles are, you may need to do all of those things, but generally speaking, I think there's a better way. Hi everyone, my name's Ben, and this channel is dedicated to all things personal finance, helping you earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. Now, the problem I see with most people's budget plans is that they focus in on and eliminate all of these small items like coffee and dining out with friends or entertainment. The problem, of course, is that these are the little things that actually bring us joy in our lives. We deprive ourselves of these small things, and in turn, we aren't nearly as happy, and worse yet, even after depriving ourselves of all this stuff, we still haven't saved a ton of money. And it's even worse still is that if we deprive ourselves long enough, eventually our willpower will give out and we'll want to splurge and treat ourselves to something nice. Maybe an outing for some shopping or a vacation. Whatever it may be, but that act of treating ourselves is likely only going to bring us a small amount of happiness and in turn cost us a significant amount of money, largely or even completely negating all of our previous hard work of saving money in the first place. It's almost like a diet. Diets work as long as you stick to the diet, but most people eventually give up, and when they do, they usually go overboard and eat the entire cheesecake by themselves and end up gaining back way more weight than they originally lost. So instead of getting rid of these small ticket items, I suggest a couple of alternatives. First, you can start your budgeting process by looking at your biggest expenses first instead of your smallest expenses that people usually target with their budgeting tactics. Things like housing and transportation make up the overwhelming majority of what most people spend their money on. So why not start looking there? I mean, do you really need that new BMW that you're driving around with its high insurance premiums, expensive parts every time it breaks down, and of course the monthly payments on the vehicle itself is ridiculously high? What if instead you just traded that car in and got a fully paid off economy vehicle that's 5 to 6 years old instead? The car is still relatively new enough to be super reliable and has already experienced the majority of its depreciation in value, and you can probably eliminate altogether or at least dramatically reduce your monthly car payment. Being able to eliminate a $500 to $600 monthly car payment will be a game changer when it comes to having some breathing room financially. Or what about housing? Can you find a place that's closer to work so that you don't have to commute and waste gas every morning? Or how about a smaller apartment? Everybody loves having a guest room available for when company comes over, but realistically, how many times have you actually used that guest room in the past year or two? For most people, that guest room is essentially never used and therefore largely wasted space. Simply downsizing from a 2 or 3 bedroom apartment to a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment will likely save you $200 or more in month. The next way to eliminate wasteful spending is to start slowly and find what money wasting activities you actually don't miss, instead of going full throttle and trying to cut out all of your spending entirely right off the bat. Instead, just pick 1 or 2 things at a time and see how it goes. Maybe you do end up cutting out your morning trip to Starbucks, and if you find that you're just as happy without it, or maybe brewing a cup of Folgers at home works just as good, then that's great. Keep doing that. But if you find that it's just not working and that you really need that Starbucks coffee, then add it back into your budget and try cutting out something else instead. By slowly figuring out and eliminating items, it doesn't feel like we're overwhelming ourselves by cutting out all of the good stuff all at the same time. Next up is one of my favorite tactics, and I've personally found it to be extremely effective because from a psychological level, it tricks the brain into not wanting to waste that money on that item in the first place. I first learned of this tactic while trying to do some dieting. Every time I would see a slice of cheesecake, I just had to eat it. I knew it was terrible for me and had upwards of 1,500 or more calories per slice, but I didn't care. I wanted it. So what I did was I got on the treadmill at the gym and found out how many calories per minute I burned while running. Now, I'm not super fast, so I burn roughly 10 calories per minute on the treadmill. Then by doing some quick math, I was able to calculate just how long I needed to run in order to burn off the calories from indulging myself with food. That single slice of cheesecake just cost me 2.5 hours on the treadmill. A McDonald's Big Mac and fries, an hour and 50 minutes on the treadmill. You see, calories is just a fictitious numbers that our mind can't really comprehend, but by associating those calories with something concrete, we can actually start to wrap our minds around it, like minutes on a treadmill. We suddenly start seeing those calories very differently, and from a psychological standpoint, this is huge because we aren't limiting what we can eat. If I wanted that cheesecake, I could still eat it. The difference is I no longer wanted the cheesecake because I didn't want to spend 2.5 hours on the treadmill. Likewise, think of your money spending in terms of hours worked. Let's just say you earn $15 per hour, then chances are your after taxes take-home pay is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 an hour. So if you wanted to go see a show or an event that costs $100, think of it as working 10 hours in order for you to go see that show. Now, if you think the show is worth it, working all day, then by all means, go see it. But if it's not worth it, then maybe find something a little cheaper to do instead. If you have other money-saving ideas, be sure to comment down below so that other people can read and learn what tactics and techniques are working well for you. But whatever you do, realize that saving money is only the first step because nobody has ever become wealthy from saving money alone. Even if you were able to achieve a very high savings rate, a savings of, let's just say, $1,000 per month, it would take you over 83 years to become a millionaire. Saving money is great, but once it's saved, you need to start investing that money and let it start working for you by growing and compounding. If you found this video useful, consider subscribing, and as always, I'll see you all again next time. Thanks.